It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. Hi, it's Feedback Friday, and this has been a very long week. You notice I have exhaustion poof in my hair. That's what I'm calling it. I kind of like it. I don't know. It's okay. We had really bad thunderstorms here as I'm recording. So if you notice me keep doing this, it's because it's like typhoon outside my window. I've had some power blips, but hopefully it'll hold. It is Feedback Friday, and there have been some questions about the men's group. And then we're going to talk about the Manly Monday video, because I've really appreciated the answers that you guys gave on that. But let's do the support thing. Help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/Leanna K, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it. Coffee.com/Leanna K, or link in the description box to the GoFundMe. This graphic's gonna be updated with the additional GoFundMe information. Yes, a lot of places to send money, but that's because I want people to be able to target where they want to send the funds, so you know exactly where your money is being used. So the way somebody's like, do the patrons get access to the men's groups? Everybody gets access to the men's groups. One of the things that I am in the process of figuring out is, I mean, obviously with something like Discord, we're not going to be able to verify everybody's identity. With these Zoom groups, or maybe we will. It's gonna be, this is what we're gonna do in the next few months while we're fundraising. We have enough for one session, so yay, we're up to like $115. Thank you for that. But we're going, it's the sort of thing where people will be anonymous to the group, but somebody in the organization will have to know who you are. Why? Because there is the possibility that somebody's abusive ex or abusive partner will sneak into the group. This is a risk with any truly anonymous service. We don't want that. We want this to be a space that people know that what they say is not going to leak out somewhere. And that's obviously the difference between the Zoom stuff and the Discord. The Discord's just sort of a general chat thing. I want that to be more social, because socialization is important. One of the big things is just meeting people. But when it comes to the skills practicing, because it's a space for people to make mistakes, obviously, we don't want people with malicious intent. And so, yeah, we're going to have some sort of private identity verification system for all the stuff I do. If I collect data online, I print it and keep it like secured in MeetSpace. I get it off the internet, so people's data is not just sitting there online. Some people don't care. Some people do. I respect people's need to work under a pseudonym. I prefer to say pseudonym than anonymity, because anonymity, people want nobody to know who they are. And obviously we cannot do that, again, because of the abusive partner or ex-partner thing. So that's the idea, but anybody can join. Anybody can join the Discord. The rules are gonna basically be real simple, because I don't like lengthy rules. It's gonna basically be something like, you know, if a moderator tells you to do something, do it. You'll be given a warning before anybody takes any action. Same thing for the YouTube channel. I find that works well. They're easy to understand. And obviously the moderators are selected because they're not going to abuse that power. Um, so we're not going to have a lot of, you know, I don't like too many rules. I think if there's more than 3 or 4, people can't remember them, you know? So it's just be cool and respect people. And, respect is one of those things that this is a work in progress and the people are works in progress, and we want to reward effort. And the whole idea of this group is to be completely different than the rest of the world, where you're jumped on for a minor transgression with no discussion about what you did wrong. This is a place to not have that. And I am very, very clear when it's like, please stop doing that. Okay, I ask you to stop doing that. If you do it again, this is what's going to happen. Either I'm going to boot you, or I'm going to put you in timeout, or I'm going to stop responding. But it's a very clear boundary. Nobody can say they didn't know. It's going to be that simple. But we do want people to be able to, like, we might have a hot take session, a hot take section of the Discord where that's where you put the hot takes, nowhere else, so people can choose to be a part of the hot takes, hot take free zones elsewhere. This is something we're going to develop as a community together. And this is because this entire concept came from feedback from you guys. And, you ladies out there who are like, what about us? Non-binary people who want to engage with men's issues, please join. Obviously, we're not going to, if somebody wants to perform as male, we can't really stop that. That's cool if somebody's curious about identities, but this is going to be from a male perspective, right? This is going to be about a male perspective. People are going to make comments about bad experiences they've had, if they're gay with the same sex, if they're straight with the opposite sex. And this is not a place where people are going to be reactive about this stuff. The one exception to that is we will, invite some women in when we do the dating stuff, because obviously that's the point, is getting feedback, right? And that makes sense. Eventually we're going to get other stuff. This is just, I like to start things small and then build. And again, this has sort of been an extension of, you guys know I started the Manly Monday stuff very hesitantly. So no one is more happily surprised than me that we're here now. But I am very interested in your feedback and helping to shape this group, because this is what it's for. I really believe that a big part of the grounding that we're going to do in this group is men can say, these are my needs, this is what I want, and be able to separate those two, because needs are needs, right? Whereas wants are sometimes food. We can work towards the want, but the need to feel safe, the need to feel like you can trust, the need to understand there's, an agreement of mutual respect. Those things are needs. Those things are not negotiable. And people who abuse that will be asked to leave, right? Well, not asked. I was being polite there. People have told me I should stop being quite so polite. So we'll see how that goes. Because, inner censor. I unleashed a stream of profanity on Twitch this week that Aquila is like, the military veteran in me approves. And that was a minor profanity streak for me. So, that is basically how it works. And, if you've got the same name on Discord as you do on YouTube, that's really easy to verify. Okay, I know you. Um, you know, uh, so that is somewhat loose, but this is why we are doing a lead up and starting. It'll probably be in October that we're going to start launching. Possibly one of the things we will do first is discuss like Game Mageddon October, where like Alan Wake, Spider-Man, and Assassin's Creed Mirage, Alan Wake 2, Spider-Man 2, and Assassin's Creed Mirage are all coming out in the same month. Game Mageddon! But this is an organic thing, and I like interactive things. I like leading from the middle. I like it being, okay, what does the community want? If we can make this happen, we will. The only thing that is a limitation here, one is the safety issue, obviously, but two is cost. Again, with the, I'm a big believer in compensating people. It's not a huge amount of money, but payment means people show up. And there's a certain understanding, there's a certain mindset that comes with payment as opposed to volunteers, strictly volunteers. There's a lot more ego in it. So that's the only thing I don't ask people to work for free. Okay, we need some sample pages to do a crowdfund. That's one thing, but and part of that is my own bad experiences with Stalker Chan insisting she didn't get paid for volunteer work. Nobody got paid for volunteer work. That is why it is volunteer work. And, there's, if it's not that, then, and these are people that have earned it. They're going to have to go through some orientation. They have to put in their time to understand, to communicate, to plan. One of the things that was suggested, and this will be another initiative, because I got a bunch of stuff in the hopper. This was just the first one that sort of came together. But another, like, there's things like running a learn D&D session. A couple people expressed interest in learning the game. That's something that, we can do. And if somebody wants to volunteer for that, okay. Cause open gaming license, we got to be careful on that one. There are other things that we can do as community initiatives. I am just very, very aware right now that I can only allot so many hours to everything now. And so I do need a team to work with me to make sure this stuff gets done and make sure it's consistent and it's a level of quality, because I value the trust this community has put in me and each other. It is sacred to me and I do not want to fuck it up. So hopefully that answers people's questions. Those are the ones I can remember. So on to the Are You Sexist video. This went way better than I expected. And what I appreciated was the number of people who said, yeah, I have sexist thoughts. And I appreciated the hell out of, because I've had a lot of discussions this week from people who, remember when, even in the 80s, it was one of those things where somebody could admit, less than pure thoughts as the beginning of, I'm working on this, and they weren't instantly excommunicated. Now, any admission that you ever had a dirty thought, is grounds for people to just beat on you and beat on you and beat on you. And who's going to admit it in that environment? Like, everybody has had a sexist thought at some point in their life. Having sexist thoughts or having certain sexist attitudes does not make you overall sexist. it's, as one commenter pointed out, not like the guy who suggested I have an OnlyFans because it's, as the commenter pointed out, the new age way of calling me a whore. You know, and the commenter said, we may have respect for OnlyFans and the people on it, but he said that purely as a disgusting insult. Exactly. And that is an issue, especially since I am openly pro-sex work. And it's funny how many people hear that opinion and assume I've done it. I've interviewed people who have done it. I work with people who've done it. They're members of the team. And, you know, I think it's very important to have that perspective. Working with adult content completely changed my opinions on it because I discovered that the people who do it are people. And so it's very difficult for me in those situations because I have to be, okay, I don't do that, but why is it an insult if I did? And that's the challenge we have to do because, I mean, there was that whole kerfuffle over an article about the age gap in Mission Impossible movies between Tom Cruise and his co-stars is problematic. And people were like, oh my God, Haley Atwell's 41. And, you know, it's not a question of her being exploited. It's the question of Tom Cruise is 61. So in Hollywood, and this is not always the case, and I have to be careful because, you know, Dial of Destiny is an example of a movie where, yes, I always forget her name, Phoebe Waller-Bridges, the lady from Fleabag. She's significantly younger than Harrison Ford, but she plays the daughter of his friend. And there is no romantic anything between them. The great love of Indy's life, they've confirmed, is Marion Ravenwood. So that's different. But they had all these rumors before Mission Impossible came out that Haley Atwood was dating Tom Cruise. And who knows if it's true or not. It might be true, it might not be true. What they do is their business. But in media, the idea that 41 for women is 61 for men, I wouldn't say it's problematic so much as we have to talk about it. You know, that's why it's so important that Michelle Yeoh just kicked ass with Everything Everywhere All at Once, because she's 60, I believe. She's around there. And when you think of a 60-year-old woman, it's, oh, she's old. You know, when you think of a 61-year-old man, Tom Cruise. And frankly, the fact that Tom Cruise still has the same haircut he did in the 80s is looking a bit ridiculous right now. And whatever work he's had done is lumpy. But hey, if he's happy with the way he looks, he still opens movies. He's still a big star. I'm not big on the Scientology thing, but, you know, that has nothing to do with his appearance. It's the issue of when 41 is 61 for women. Holy shit. And there are plenty of people who argue, well, that just makes sense. Well, here's all the reasons. Well, blah, 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 blah. Well, it's an imbalance. And, you know, one person said, you know, Tom Cruise is not the average 61-year-old guy. And it's like, yeah, that's another thing we can discuss. And is it great? I think it's great that people are still doing action movies in their 60s. They got to be real careful on injury rates, but with everything being digital, I mean, Harrison Ford's a lot older than that. But I think that's good. Now, who knows what people are going to say about it with the movie not meeting expectations, and I can't talk about any other movies because SAG will get mad at me. And, you know, if I need a temporary union thing to do a commercial, they'll ban me, allegedly. That's what they're claiming to do. But anyway, these are things we need to be able to discuss without somebody's hair getting set on fire. And I think it's good that some people are like, yeah, despite myself, yeah. And that's why I do think that uh like we all have certain things we've been trained. I'm wording this very carefully. Um let me read this comment. This might be a good way to touch this up because I want to be very, very careful here. While there are biological differences, attitudes we are raised with do not consist of biology. This is regarding gender. And I say gender because of the attitudes part. I think a lot of the problems come from a lot of traditions, and also people, for various reasons, cannot or will not teach their kids better in some cases. Say they're taught in school and can't ask their parents questions, again, for various reasons. And in others, it doesn't matter how much knowledge you give, they'll never learn. And that's not a male exclusive or female exclusive thing. It's a problem with current society. Also, I may be way off here, but whenever I was told that I am a man, so therefore I must be strong, is that benevolent sexism? Just disregarded physical disability and the fact that I didn't do anything that requires a lot of strength at the time. Yes, well, that might actually be hostile sexism. Because more on that in a bit. As for women being taught to be scared of men, that's one of the creepiest things that goes on I'll never understand. And I am scared of everyone I don't know. And I am a male man last time I checked. Hopefully that's something humorous to lighten the mood a bit. Yeah, that whole thing, men must be strong. First of all, define strength. Like, my idea of strength is not aggressive, is not being violent, right? But even the idea of strength that is about resilience is like the fortitude stat. The fortitude stat in D&D as opposed to the strength stat. Like, even that, that concept has the potential to teach men that you must have unlimited strength, and no one does. And that's when it starts becoming harmful. And that, I mean, maybe that is benevolent sexism in the way it sounds. Oh yeah, men are strong. That's a temporary advantage there. But in the long term, it causes men to not respect their limits, not learn boundaries, and ultimately breaks them. Okay, I'll buy that. Yeah. And that's how benevolent sexism works. It seems good in the short term, but in the long term, bad. So yeah, I'll take that. But that's basically how it works, right? And I've had a lot of discussions about people about that idea that men are inherently scary and women not. And no, women can be really damn scary. I think that one of the discussions that needs to be like a cross-gender discussion is that a lot of women are not taught how much their judgments hurt the men in their lives. And so women can be downright vicious and not realize, because, you know, men talk to women the way that men talk to each other. That's considered sexist, mansplaining, condescending, all that stuff, which I find fascinating. Like, guys talk to each other that way? All right. But, you know, if women talk to men the way women talk to each other, men are like, this is what, I have no idea what you're telling me. This just hurts. All of a sudden, this stuff is coming out of nowhere in a barrage. I thought things were fine. And yes, welcome to girl world. And it's all fucked up. And it's what the commenter said, that this is not biological. This is traditions. This is training, you know, and we're seeing the shift in training for boys. We've put all this attention into women being more assertive, and it backfired into the whole, and this is the reason I don't use this word, like the boss bitch stereotype. We're just blistering abuse. Whereas men, we've found now not being as overt in confrontations, because that's bad. That's scary. And that makes a person feel silenced of any gender. If you can't say what, there's all these songs for women about roaring and say what you want to say, but guys are just as stifled these days because they're told that any like, okay, we need to have a talk is scary. And that's a problem. That's a problem for everybody. And this is why I want to talk about this stuff. And one of the first things we have to do. I mean, this other commenter, I was like, dude, what the fuck last week? He apologized this week. Appreciate it, man. Thanks. And I'm gonna leave it there. I could nitpick, I could quibble, but I appreciate the attempt. And there were a few commenters. There's this one really great comment, and it's a 3-part thing that basically talked about things that bother them that they observe other men doing, whereas they've never seen women and girls as somehow virtuous because they were bullied in school by both sexes. And they sort of see both sides of it. But then they talked about legislation going through Parliament called the Online Safety Bill. Commenter, please let me know which Parliament. I'm in Canada. We have a Parliament. Is this our Parliament? UK Parliament? I don't know. I'll look into it. Somebody else said, Leanna, your life is extreme as fuck. Your name will be remembered forever in the halls of Valhalla. I would prefer Folkmonger. Thanks. It's the afterlife that Frigga is in charge of. I don't mess with Odin, but thank you. Here's another thing by not a man. They didn't say they're a woman, just not a man. But benevolent sexists scare me because I refuse to be infantilized. At least with the make me a sandwich sexist, you can tell them to shut up or make them help you make sandwiches, whether it's a little sandwich or a euphemism. It ain't my business. Women aren't angels, but they ain't demons either. Women are people. I don't care if anyone is a dude or a chick. All I ask is be a good person. I know, mind blowing. And there's a lot of discussion with racism, with sexism. The people who say, I prefer it's in your face versus the subtle stuff. And the truth is, even with the make me a sandwich sexists want you to tell them to fuck off. That is the whole point. They know it is socially transgressive. They're trying to make you mad so they can call you a bitch and laugh. Why are you getting so upset? They do it on purpose. And the only reason someone does that overtly is they think they can get away with it, which is a way of enforcing, I have the power and you don't. And so, yeah, I'm all for a good fuck off. Like, if that makes you feel better, awesome. But that is the result they're expecting and in a way they want. Because it's this whole idea of, well, if you're a bitch, you're dismissible. There's this whole opinions so often fall into fetish. the whole, oh, she's so aggressive, like the Harley Quinn thing. No one wants a relationship with someone like Harley Quinn. They want hot, wild, meaningless sex with someone like Harley Quinn, and that's the problem. It doesn't work that way. Those are the people that if you ghost them, your life is ruined. And you shouldn't be thinking about it that way anyway. That's a person, right? But the same way the sort of the hot Ryu thing, that one bothered me because it was a bunch of women thirsting after this impossible, and some gay guys, thirsting after this impossibly broad-chested dude, and somehow that was okay, and it confused the fuck out of a lot of guys. And the reality is the double standard is not okay. And I don't care what anybody says about the role of women in society versus the role of men in society. Watching a bunch of women do that with a guy that the bystander guy doesn't feel he measures up to, like he can't compete on that scale. It feels just as shitty for men as it does for women. And, which is why I think the whole hot Ryu thing is kind of worse. Because the very people who claim to understand the psychological impact that has on somebody are doing it. That's fucked up. You heard it from me. That's fucked up. I think there is a way of expressing appreciation for someone in a way that isn't dehumanizing, is a whole person approach, and doesn't have, really negative effects on real people. And part of that is the recognition that, this argument that, women are mainly attracted to men's personalities. They're mainly attracted to how a man makes them feel. Well, that goes out the window when people are thirsting over a digital character's pecs in a game that isn't even out yet. I mean, what is Ryu's personality? Hadouken. Like, that just blows all that out of the water. And so I understand why it's so depressing for guys. But the truth is that, my attitude towards guys who do that, they're shallow, superficial, and don't understand respect. I don't care what they think. I don't want those people's approval. Now, some people, but I do, because that's social currency. Okay, but I don't. But it's the same thing. Those women who are pulling that hot Ryu shit, know who they are, avoid them. And, easy to say when you're spoiled for choice. No one really is. One of the things that needs to be talked about people in movies or modeling or anything like that, you get treated like shit. You don't have people telling you how gorgeous you are all the time. You get people saying your nose is crooked, your face isn't symmetrical, lose 10 pounds or gain 30. It isn't what you think. The worship tends to feel dehumanizing as well, because that is not the way people look every day. That takes a ton of work, lighting, a lot of undergarments, and for men, it's a different type of extreme dieting than women, but people don't look that way all the time. And so putting that up on a pedestal even makes the people who technically that image is them feel shitty. And I mean, I've been watching the old Indiana Jones movies, and sorry, Temple of Doom is not that great a movie, but Harrison Ford shirtless in Temple of Doom, that physique, more appealing to me than I guess because I know what goes into that 3% body fat, bulging muscle shit. It's just not appealing to me. And I suspect I'm not the only one. And does that mean I think the men that do that for parts are less? No, I know they don't look that way the whole time. And I really do think stressing the point that you don't need to look that way if you are a decent person who tries and tries to better themselves. Unless you're expecting somebody to look that way all the time, and then I'm not interested. And I guarantee you that people of all genders, the people you're interested in, they're the ones that sign on to that. And it's a question of connecting the people that feel that way instead of thinking that everybody secretly thinks what the hot Ryu contingent does. They don't. There are people who are just like that. Just fuck off with that. And, it goes both ways because, anybody who's sort of thirsted over an anime chick has no business complaining about anything but the hypocrisy of the hot Ryu thing. But let's face it, if it was just about the hypocrisy, people would be like, okay, there's somebody I don't have to listen to anymore. They're do as I say, not as I do. The anguish stuff like that causes is more primal than that. And I've been spending a lot of time reading articles about masculinity and men and all that stuff. And they're not even scratching the surface. They're picking at scabs. They're cheap, they're simple, they're reductive. We can do better. And that's what we're doing. So I'll wrap up Feedback Friday for now. Hope that added some information. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/Leanna K, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone you can use it but can't afford at coffee.com/Leanna K, or GoFundMe, link in the description box in this video. Thanks so much for watching and have a great weekend.